Oh, in this video, we're going back into ripoff territory to see all the clones of our favorite dream stalker, Freddy, and the knockoffs of the Elm Street series. This is going to take us all over the world and possibly into the nightmare realm, so grab some coffee and get ready for Nightmare Freddy?
Number 10. We'll start off the list with a double header as we head to India for a couple of Bollywood ripoffs of Freddy that I wasn't fully able to dig into because the only versions that I could find weren't subtitled or dubbed, but they are 1993's Massacre and 89's Kunamurda. Both films are available in full on YouTube and both drastically knock off the Nightmare films. Kunamurda is the tale of a killer who's interrupted by what else but a big musical number and ends up burned in a fire. He then starts attacking our heroes in their sleep, including this familiar girl being dragged to the ceiling bit, this hanging in jail, and even the bathtub scene. It's less of a ripoff and more of a straight-up remake, to the point that I didn't even really need to know what was being said to know what was going on. If you ever wanted to see Elm Street with a quarter of the budget and with several random musical interludes,
I'm looking at you, Jerry.
Here you go. Marakal gives you finger knives in like the first 2 minutes, so you know what to expect, or do you?
Hey, Prakash, my friend, my man, abhi aata hai. Hum tumko lamba roll dega.
There's no music in this clip because I'm going to assume that they used actual Michael Jackson music without clearance and YouTube muted it. Anyway, yep, dreams, little girls in boiler rooms, killer with a distorted face, and yes, the glove is just a Freddy glove, repurposed here. Lots of bits are recreated, although there's some originality, like you never saw Freddy in an aquarium, did you? And of course, prepare yourself for lots more musical numbers. Number 9. Okay, Night Killer from 1990 is looking like it's going to show up on a bunch of these lists, and I'm such a fan of this ridiculous movie that I'm totally okay with it. From the guy who gave us the cinematic masterpiece that is Troll 2, we get this fantastic film that showed up on my Leatherface ripoff list because it was marketed in Italy as the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3. But take a look at this killer and tell me that he's not modeled after a certain other Night Killer. Besides the burnt face, which in this case is actually just a mask, he has a clawed hand of finger knives that he uses to fully push straight through people. He doesn't just stab people, he straight up jams his hand all the way through them, seemingly without even using the knives to do it, so I guess he's super strong to boot. The movie itself takes very little inspiration from the Nightmare series beyond the overall look of the killer, but it absolutely has nothing to do with Texas Chainsaw at all, so that title makes no sense either. In Italy, they should have just called it Nightmare on Elm Street 6 or whatever if they were going to go with the silly fake sequel route. Anyway, the story is about a woman trying to find out who attacked her and tried to kill her, and a mysterious man who, as several commenters pointed out in a Chainsaw ripoff video, was the 70s Marvel Doctor Strange, and I included this scene in that video, but how can I not show it again?
Hey, bud, what happened to your clothes?
I got molested in the little boy's room.
If you're even the slightest fan of So Bad It's Good movies, then you're going to want to check this one out because it makes very little sense and the acting is all so over the top that it is a must-see. Number 8. One of the later entries on this list is 2002's The Wisher, which immediately kicks off with a nightmare and a guy with a Freddy-ish voice. Mary here is having sleep issues, and she's also obsessed with horror movies. And Mary's sort of this weird hybrid between Rooney Mara, Natalie Portman, and Finn Wolfhard. They go see a movie called The Wisher, which is really popular because the only other movie playing is Halloween Resurrection. So yeah, I guess it would be doing okay. The movie within the movie introduces a wisher that's a tree nymph that grants wishes but twists around the wishes for evil purpose.
Oh man, did I put this in the wrong ripoff list?
The male lead of the film is none other than Drew Lachey, who is the brother of a guy that was pretty much just famous for being married to Jessica Simpson. The wisher starts showing up in the real world and granting her wishes, like killing her dad. Oh, and did I mention that Ron Silver is kinda in this? So besides the dream at the beginning, why would I include this? Well, the wisher is a mangled face killer with a handful of finger knives. Although I guess to distinguish him, the knives are glass. Well, that and the fact that Wisher appears to her in dreams as well. Then, of course, because this was in the era of Scream, the movie has to raise the idea that there is no Wisher and it's a real person doing the killing and has a sort of whodunit thing going on. It takes some weird turns, and there's actually a plot point where the girls have to illegally download the Wisher movie to try to see how it ends, but they're just unable to get a copy to finish downloading, and that's funny because
I did not have that problem.
Number 7. 1986 gave us Dream Maniac, which you can tell is going to be a nightmare ripoff just from the title, but who knows? It may be good.
Well, there goes that.
The cover art for this one basically parodies the nightmare poster with the bed down below and our bladed killer hovering above. And then we meet our hero Adam and his girlfriend Pat, and I want to call her by another name from another role that she played, so let me just look up her IMDb.
Oh my. Oh hey, she was in a episode of The X-Files.
Adam dreams about a woman who then shows up at a party they're having, and then someone starts killing people with a knife. Not in a dream. The dream maniac is not in a dream. She kills more people, again, not in dreams.
Are we sure that this is a nightmare ripoff? Let's take a look at the Full Moon website.
Yep, it's right there. You don't have to live on Elm Street to have a nightmare in the sleep-stirring tradition of Phantasm and Nightmare on Elm Street.
Okay, so maybe later on in the movie?
So then the movie literally just becomes people wandering around the house and getting killed off by the succubus with various regular killing instruments. Not only does it not give us the dream elements that its marketing promises, it's also really, really boring and probably the most insulting ending of all time. Number 6. In 1988, England wanted to join in on the fun, so we saw Dream Demon, which starts off with a pretty awesome dream sequence. And Kate Stewart here is set to get married soon, but keeps having these wild nightmares. Jenny arrives from America, and it took me forever to figure out what I knew this actress from, and it turns out that it's one of the teen sex comedies from the 80s that I've seen the most, which is Private School, and I've mentioned that movie a couple of times in recent videos. A lot of the dream sequences have a distinct Elm Street vibe, and of course the dreams start to bleed into reality, and the twist here is that it's Diana's dreams, and she makes them happen in the real world, so her being asleep is the catalyst in this one instead of people dying in dreams. So, it's totally different. Although our villain is a burned up man, and there are little blonde girls involved, so totally the same. I should point out also that this little girl is supposed to be Jenny when she was a little girl, but this actress was 28 at the time. Grown-up Jenny was 24. This one is actually pretty watchable. It's entertaining enough, and even though it's strongly inspired by the Nightmare films, it's enough of its own thing to enjoy. Number 5. If you thought Nightmare ripoffs were limited to horror films, well, Night Wars from 1988 would like a word with you. This one's sort of a war film, and I say sort of because it is really weird. A couple of Vietnam War veterans are trying to reintegrate back into life in Los Angeles, and the trouble begins when Trent starts having bad flashback dreams that of course start to affect him in real life. His doctor is Grizzly Adams, and I just went to IMDb to look at Dan Haggerty's known for section, and it doesn't have him most known for Grizzly Adams. It actually has elves on there, and not Grizzly Adams. Trent actually starts shooting while asleep, so I hope that Jim here doesn't have anyone that lives next door. I mean, where did the bullets even go? Instead of Freddy, the villain is a traitorous US soldier trying to kill them, and he starts killing people in their beds in some really familiar looking scenes. Oddly, they have to dress and arm themselves accordingly to go into their dreams, and the end fight kinda goes into zombie territory, although I don't know if these guys were supposed to be dead or just hiding. But if they were just hiding, this is a terrible way to reveal yourself. Why hide if you're just going to slowly get up and lose the whole element of surprise thing? It's actually kind of a dull movie, but I guess it's worth watching if you want to see Elm Street concepts applied to a different film genre, or a movie that just doesn't understand that bullets go somewhere when you shoot them. Number 4. By the 90s, Freddy's star was already on the downswing, but that didn't stop 1995's Sleep Stalker from trying to create a version of him. The movie really wanted to launch the Sandman as a new franchise hero, even subtitling the film The Sandman's Last Rites, which sounds more like a subtitle for a character's final entry than his first, and hey, they were right. IMDb actually says that this film was intended as a spin-off of the Nightmare series, but I really can't find any verification of that, so I'm just going to assume that whoever entered that got confused between the words spin-off and rip-off. Anyway, Little Griffin here is the son of Gidget and Jimmy Olsen, but they're murdered and the killer is caught, so we bounce ahead 17 years to the boy who could fly, who's Griffin grown up. Oddly enough, the Sandman didn't really age much in 17 years, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is a Shocker ripoff since he's involved in voodoo and he's electrocuted. And instead of coming out with electricity powers and body switching, he's made of sand. Ken Foray actually pops in for a bit, and the Sandman starts killing people in their sleep, throwing out little one-liners, of course. And the Freddy parallels in this one are pretty surface level, and it really is a merging of Krueger and Pinker, really. And it's actually a little better than most of the straight-to-video stuff of its time, even if the digital stuff doesn't hold up, and in fact, even looked crappy back then. I gotta say, though, the Sandman doesn't seem as terrifying once you realize that his vulnerabilities are sunlight and water. Yes, water. Oh, and I guess fire. Number 3. Around the time of the Dream Warriors, Freddy Mania was overboard in the horror market, so lots of people were taking their killers supernatural. The Friday series took Jason to Zombieland, and slashers were falling to the wayside. They were even considering taking Leatherface to the realm of the supernatural for his third movie for a hot second. One of the series that definitely felt the influence is 1987's Slumber Party Massacre 2. The first film focused on a purely real-world slasher with a power drill killing teenage girls at a party, and the second film, well, it's pretty much the same exact thing, except the killer is now fully in the realm of unreality, taking a big inspiration from the Nightmare series. How, you say? Well, they bring back a survivor from the first film, although she's been recast with wings, and she keeps having these crazy dreams and visions haunting her, including some wild body transformations and dreams of half-naked pillow fights. Oh wait, those are those are supposed to be real.
Those real-life slumber party pillow fights.
Sure enough, the killer crosses over into reality to cause actual chaos, but instead of a burnt-up wisecracker, we've got a rockabilly wisecracker with an electric drill guitar. And you can talk smack about this movie as much as you want, but don't you dare disparage this thing of beauty. Sure, there's no way I can imagine it would actually work with playing music, but look at it. Just look at it. Number 2. 1988 gave us the Mexican import Don't Panic, and oh yeah, it's the 80s. Check out this perm. So it's supposed to be Michael here's 17th birthday, and he and his friends are all like 30 looking, and several of them sport unibrows for some reason. They play Ouija with their friends, who really has a temper.
Shut up, everybody! Wait! Wait! Virgil.
And they call on a spirit called Virgil. And pretty soon Michael is having dreams of bloody hands coming through the walls and other crazy imagery. He finds love and has romantic true love sex like all 17-year-old kids do, right before hanging out in kids' dinosaur pajamas.
Hey movie, pick an age group for your character.
He sees waking visions in a very Elm Street manner, and his friends start dying in methods that he foresees. And he just wears those PJs like all the time, huh? Even when visiting Central Hospital? Or at least that's what the third grade art project looking sign says. Virgil possesses his friend Tony, and hey, someone has seen Videodrome. It's all pretty silly and low budget, but I'll be damned if it isn't fun anyway, with Michael's eventual face-off with Virgil leading him to shoot up a dinner party and heading down to where else? A boiler room kind of place, with Michael being dangled telekinetically with, whoops, visible wires. Check it out for some grade A 80s silliness. Number 1. Possibly the most blatant example was 1988's Bad Dreams from director Andrew Fleming, who also gave us The Craft and has since gone on to a huge career in TV. It's about a cult led by the Blade puppet himself, Richard Lynch, and a fire kills all the members but one, who goes into a coma for 13 years, and she coincidentally also has experience taking on dream killers. Cynthia ends up in a group therapy, again, populated by Rockula and Dottie, and led by Dan Kane. Soon a burned-up Harris is showing up in her visions, killing the other patients, which of course translates to them dying in the real world. The higher-ups in the hospital, here played by Quentin Travers, don't believe it when they're told something extra normal has happened, even when the deaths get gruesome, like a couple jumping into a giant fan. And Harris keeps popping up in both regular and burned forms, and he's a lot more like early Freddy than the wisecracker he'd become at this point. And with the whole waking visions aspect and playing with what's happening through Cynthia, it's almost a remake of Nightmare 3 through the world of Nightmare 2 or something, with the doc even getting fired for trying to figure out what's really going on. It's a pretty cool ride and features a great little soundtrack, including I Had Too Much to Dream Last Night, which I can't believe they never featured in a Freddy film, and has a cameo by Roger Rabbit himself, who claims that with THC...
Tetrahydrocannabinol, you know what this is? It's liquefied condensed marijuana, totally synthesized. 100 cc's of this, everybody in Detroit gets wasted.
Oh man, that seems a little out of hand. Unless I guess that the population of Detroit in 1988 is like, I don't know, a couple people.
The ending has a nice little twist that deviates from the whole rip-off status of the film, and I won't reveal it here, but check it out because this is actually a pretty solid little movie.
So there you have it, 10 movies that are in one way or another inspired by or rip-offs or straight-up clones of the Elm Street series and Freddy. I know some of these are a little bit more direct rip-offs than others. Some of them, like those Bollywood ones, are just straight-up remakes. But there's a lot of fun in here. Some of these are pretty trashy and not really worth watching, but a lot of these were really enjoyable to watch. I had a fun time with this list. I wasn't mad. I wasn't too mad about any of these. Maybe Dream Maniac, that one was pretty hard to get through. But for the most part, these were a lot of fun, and I'd recommend checking them out. If you could think of any other Nightmare on Elm Street ripoff movies, let me know down below. One of my favorite things about doing the ripoff lists is when people tell me other ripoffs of those movies down below, which leads to future lists and checking out some other movies. So let me know that down below. I'd love to check out some more of these. Let me know what you thought of these, or if you want to check any of them out now. And then always like this video, subscribe to the channel, share this video out to as many people as you would choose to. It's always appreciated. And as always, check out my patrons over here. These guys are awesome and they help contribute to this channel. Thank you guys very, very much. Appreciate it. And you can do so too by going to patreon.com/movietimelines and supporting this channel and helping get more videos made. I would certainly appreciate it. But thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you very, very shortly for another great one. Thank you guys. Bye-bye.